Welcome to The Art of Making, EIT Manufacturing's podcast where we talk to leading entrepreneurs, technologists, researchers and policymakers about the state and future of the European manufacturing industry. I am your host, Maxime Montmorency, and this is The Art of Making. In light of International Women's Day, we dedicate this episode to the gender gap in manufacturing. We spoke to our colleague, Teresa Hernandez, who is the lead of Women TechEU, a European initiative supporting female deep tech founders in the pre-seed and seed stages. Hi Teresa, and thank you for finding the time to join us on The Art of Making, because I understood that especially around International Women's Day, which is around the corner, at the time of this recording, you are a very busy woman.
Yes, absolutely. It's quite interesting, and I hope to have as much attention in the future as I'm having now when this International Women's Day is happening.
Yeah, it's a very important topic to talk about, and I think it's very good that we can talk about this today with you, Teresa. So I read a news item. This was kind of a bit of a kickoff, I think, from the side of EIT Manufacturing last year in March 2023, with some discouraging figures about the involvement of women in the manufacturing industry. 22% of scientists and engineers are women in the manufacturing industry. About 15% of employees in the technology sector more generally. 34%, I think, about 1/3 of the graduates in the European Union go into STEM careers, so STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And maybe most discouraging of all, about 9% of all CEOs across all industries, so not even talking about manufacturing only, 9% of CEOs across all industries are women. What is going wrong here? Where does it go wrong?
I mean, if I look back in my memories, I'm industrial engineer, and I did my career in the end of the 19th, more or less. And at the high school, I was studying the science specialty, but in class we were almost 50-50% at high school level. But when I joined the university, it turned that only nearly 15 to 20% of the students were women. So there is a tremendous gap there. At that point, I didn't realize, it was like, yeah, I knew this was a men career, that I was jumping into something that was a little bit far from what a woman is meant to do, but I was quite curious, and I really liked maths and physics and design, and I knew I was going to be able to make it. So I said, why not? I have, of course, the support of my family, my parents, my friends, and I was able to do it. But I understand that there are not as much women as lucky as me in that sense. And because you go there and then you think it's something that it's the normal thing, that there shouldn't be a lot of women, then you adapt to this male dominant situation in a way. So you start to live since that moment in a situation where you are the minority, and that even though you understand that you deserve to be there because you are measured the same way others are, you are capable as well to pass the exams, do the works, and do everything. And at the end, you are also capable to get the degree. And and I think this is one of the. I mean, things have been changed a little bit. I've gone. I think 4 or 5 years ago, I went to my university to visit one of my ex-professors, and I saw things that had changed a little bit, at least. I mean, there were more women around, there were more, it was not such a male environment full of straight lines and and the thinking was so based in competitiveness. There were a lot of groups of people working together, which was quite strange at when I studied the career. And but I mean, even though I think there's a lot that needs to be done yet, you know. So
Of course. You mentioned, and this is interesting, maybe not the career or the way that women are supposed to go. Do you think there's also a societal issue driven by societal perceptions of some sort?
well, I mean, the first lady at my university, I think it was in the 17s or something like that. I mean, when my design teacher talked to us about the career, he said that there were no women at all in participating, nor as a student, nor as a teacher. So it's interesting that I mean, then probably there was one that joined the university, and probably she had to face a very aggressive environment, because when you are different one, everything is difficult for you, or more difficult. And even when you probably, I can imagine, no, this a kind of situation like the I don't know if you have seen this picture of the marathon of Boston, when the first female ran the marathon. And that the story is quite interesting, because this lady wanted to run the marathon, and her boyfriend supported her to run it. So she inscribed herself. She made the inscription under a kind of a little bit male name. It could be tricky. So she went there and she started running, and there were people that tried to hit her out of the career. Yeah, and there is a super famous picture of that. And her boyfriend and her brother had to protect her to arrive to the end of the race. So I think it's a little bit the same. It probably was a little bit the same when the first lady arrived into the university, male dominated, with the teachers, students. Probably she suffered, she was bullied, and she suffered from a kind of discrimination. But that was the first step. Then others came, and then people got used to that. And but when I was there, I mean, there was still a little bit of this environment that was a little bit male dominant. I don't know if you have seen this, one of the latest Pixar short films that it's called Pure. And it's very interesting, because it's exactly this situation when a very different species come into an environment that it's completely normalized. Then something strange happens, and the first impulse is to adapt yourself into that situation. But when other similar to you came to that environment, then the whole environment changes. So I think that's the idea.
So it's quite interesting. I mean, I think these kind of stories are quite necessary to change the dominant narrative, right? There are also very famous stories about the women at NASA who calculated the trajectory to the moon and the landing and these kind of things. I think these stories are incredibly interesting to change the mindset and the narrative. Let's try and dig a little bit into the why and the what of the gender equality in manufacturing, or in industry specifically. According to one World Economic Forum report on the industry gender gap, there was a questionnaire, right? And one of the questions was, hey, why is equality, gender equality, so important to you, or why should it be important? And we see that for 42% of the respondents, it was plain and simple the fairness and the equality, which is an interesting fact. So, and 22 to 23%, I think, and this is backed up by research actually, that it would enhance innovation and decision making, right? So there is research that suggests that diversity, gender diversity, leads to diverse perspectives, enhanced innovation, more creativity, and there are some studies actually that suggest as well that women excel at some of the soft skills that are needed in leadership, right? So if you then look at 9% of CEOs and I think 7% of the Fortune 500 CEOs in Europe are women. So there is quite some stuff going wrong there. What barriers do you see within the manufacturing industry for women to enter the industrial workforce or to make a career in the industrial workforce once they get in?
Well, before talking about the barriers, I would like to complement what you said. Lately, I had the opportunity to collaborate with Esprit. Esprit is a Basque institution, and they had done research trying to analyze the correlation between financial success and diversity, and gender diversity specifically in organizations. And they have analyzed industries, and mainly industries in the Basque Country. And they have analyzed both their economical success and the gender diversity. And they have the conclusion of the research is that there is a positive correlation. So the more diverse is an organization, the more probabilities is, this organization has to be economically successful. So I think this is a very important data. They are trying to expand this research all across Europe, but it's very promising because it brings more reasons to consider that gender diversity is beneficial for organizations. And adding to what you say, I've been working in innovation for over than 15 years, and one of the mantras we had when I started working in innovation was that diversity was key to creativity. Because when you have a diverse group of team, then you can have different perspectives. So I can look the challenge from this side, and then you can look it from other sides, because you have a different background. You have different experience, you have different education, and you have different culture. So, and these different perspectives is what mixes to make creativity happen at the end, because creativity is only connecting different things. So again, we have another reason to have diversity in organizations, because you will have better ideas, more diverse, more creative, and we all know that creativity and innovations are key drivers for growth. Absolutely. So at the end, it's a matter of growth and success of organizations to have diversity. The barriers, you were asking about the barriers.
Yeah.
I mean, there are different barriers that you can find, but what I have seen several times is organizations are built to produce, and they are built the same way that we created our first industries after the Industrial Revolution. So, production series. So, you need to have people that produces from one time to another, and the more they produce, the more you grow. And sometimes productivity is linked to the time you stay at the office. And because women tend to have more than one job, because they tend to be the people that take cares of the house, the people that take cares of the kids, the people that take cares of the elder, they cannot afford to spend all their time working in the organizations.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about this concept of work-life balance,
Yeah.
which I don't truly believe is completely fair, but I think that because women tend to have all those pressures outside of the office, they cannot afford to be competitive while competition is based on time spent in the office.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this could be one of the barriers. So the environment becomes too aggressive to maintain their life as they want to maintain it. Other barriers, of course, is that sometimes they lack the opportunities. I did this master for high potential women. Some years ago, we were 24 women learning about finance, economy, marketing, so all that sort of things you need to for an MBA, no? And what I learned there is that I had this friend, and she was completely focused in being excellent. And this idea of excellence was so rooted at her way of working that his husband told her, if you get a grade under 8, I invite you to the best restaurant, 3-star Michelin in Madrid. And you know what? She couldn't do it. So I think this is another thing that we have been told, women, is that we need to be excellent to go to the top. While a man is not such exigent with himself. So sometimes I can see a job description or I want to apply into a position, and then
Right.
I see it, and if I don't do all the checking, it's probably that a woman will not apply. But a man says, well, 50% that, or 25 that, and 100 that, I'm gonna do it, So
He'll try.
Yeah. And I think this is other of the barriers that I've seen. And also because in the top you have men most of the time, and I can completely understand it. They relate and link much more with other like them because they can understand better. And also it's a risk to hire a woman as a CEO because there are just a few examples of success. When I was a consultant, I was in a consultancy, and sometimes we were competing with organizations such McKinsey, Boston, and sometimes they won the projects and we didn't. And I tend to ask our clients why they choose McKinsey or Boston, because they were far more expensive, and they were not going to bring something much more valuable than we were going to do. But the point was, if they make a mistake, I make a mistake, but I can blame them on that. And I can say, I took the best ones, so it's not my fault.
Yeah, that's a typical one. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about lack of work-life balance as one of the barriers, right? Maybe some unconscious bias in managers, perhaps. unconscious or maybe very conscious, right? So if they see, okay, we don't have a lot of big pool of women to choose from, so to say, to promote them or to give them more and more opportunities. There's this very classical thing, okay, it's a risk to hire a woman because she might get pregnant and then, she doesn't create value and she costs money, etc., which of course is, yeah, as a factual point, this is not wrong, of course, but this seems very, very unfair and rooted, I think, in both societal um, dogmas and stigmas, perhaps, as well as policy issues. Things like, a fair parental leave or maternal and parental leave for men and women. What about a lack of role models, perhaps? Okay, manufacturing is maybe not the most sexy industry. We have to be honest, right? But even there, you can have role models that can inspire young people to join this industry or to study an engineering degree, for example. Do we have some of these female role models in manufacturing, or enough?
No, not really. At least from my perspective, we need more and more. And because when I was a kid, I didn't know that I could be industrial engineer. I mean, I didn't even thought that I could be like an astronaut or a fire worker or something like that. All of those were reserved to men. I mean, I know things are changing, but for me it was a discovery that well, for probably a man was something that he could think about. I could not think that I was going to be an engineer in the future. So I had to discover that those things were open to me as well. And I was not dreaming to be an engineer when I was a kid. I was not playing with the cars or that sort of things. And probably because there was a lack of role models, but not a lack of role models like on the newspapers but around me, like my family, the friends, the parents of my friends, or my aunts or aunties or grandparents. So I mean, when you're a kid, it's not the big news or the big things that are in the magazines. What impress you is the people you have around you, and those are the real role models. So I think this is we are going in the right direction, because most women today have their job positions, they have started to work, and they are gaining more leadership positions. And I think this is what is going to make the change, not having the female Steve Jobs or the Jeff Bezos, which could be very good as well, of course. But I think the starting point is the people you have around you. That's, for me, one of them.
Yeah, it's a very nice sentiment. I think that it's not about the superstar CEOs who are on the cover of every magazine, but really about the everyday heroes, perhaps, that serve as a role model. That's interesting, because this is not how people tend to look at these kind of topics. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, and hopefully, I hope that we see some strides in the right direction, that this can change quickly or relatively soon. So if we want to get more women in manufacturing or industry in general, right? Some of the most quoted strategies to encourage them, promote work-life balance in numerous ways, and I think that this is one of the points where, in general, a lot of things are happening. There's also a bit of a generational aspect and a generational shift here. The awareness that needs to be raised, why it's actually good to have diversity. We talked about this before, and I think Also, again, strides have been made, but it's not perfect yet, and I think there are still some misconceptions. Um, and perhaps some specific development and leadership programs specific for women. So these are just some of the most quoted ones, so to say. In your opinion or in your experience, which of these strategies or other strategies work best to promote um, manufacturing as an option for women?
Mm, I mean, let me be a little bit disruptive on this one, but I think the thing that it's more attractive or could be more attractive is money.
Mm-hmm.
So in the sense that I've read a lot of things about women, and there's a lot of literacy about the women gap, and if manufacturing becomes the first sector worldwide where there's no gap between the
Gender pay gap.
payment,
Yeah.
gender pay gap, it could be a good attraction point for women. I mean, it's quite unfair to think that you are working the same of someone that is sitting by your side and that you are paid less. And we don't know who is the one that it's paid less because we don't see the numbers every day or for everyone, but there should be someone that is paid less. And when you don't know who is that person, then you think everyone is that person at the end. And I think this is one of the most one of the issues that it's quite important. I mean, at the end, if you look at the statistics, women, I think, had 20% of the money of the world, while the other 80% is in hand of men. And I think this is something that needs to be also distributed, and that needs some equality as well. And yeah, that's a little bit of disruption, but I think this could be something that could make manufacturing more attractive. Of course, making right policies, work-life balance, and so on can be good, but we can adapt to that sort of things, and we can manage at the end. But so if you want to be the one, or someone wants to be the one, or that attracts more women, they need to do something disruptive, because most other sectors promise exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's a huge gender pay gap in all industries, of course. Yeah, maybe it's a good idea if manufacturing can be the first industry, so to say, that promises or implements, not promises, but implements equal pay for both genders or all genders, then that could be a very good step in the right direction. You're right, money talks after all. Now let's turn to EIT Manufacturing, right? Because EIT Manufacturing
Okay.
has a number of initiatives that try and promote manufacturing or maybe engineering STEM as in general as a viable option for women. Um, let's start a little bit at the beginning, maybe in the, let's say, in the chronology of a career, right? We have a program called Girls Go Circular, which is a so-called cross-kick initiative. Just for the listeners who are not familiar with this terminology, KIC is KIC, stands for Knowledge and Innovation Community, of which there are a couple in EIT, and EIT Manufacturing is one of these knowledge and innovation communities. And so it's a cross-kick initiative, which means that multiple EIT KICs communities are involved here. And here we start in high school to really go into high school and try to give digital or teach digital and entrepreneurial skills to schoolgirls, basically all over Europe, which is one of these early initiatives that could help to kind of nudge girls into a STEM career in general, and hopefully manufacturing as well, of course. But some of the The other initiatives are mainly focused on women entrepreneurship. So let's move in that direction. So in the entrepreneurial scene, we see that there is still a huge underrepresentation of women, right? On the investor side, for example, in 2022, about 15% of all venture capital investors were women, only 15%, and even more discouraging, between 2 and 3% of all VC investment went to women-only startups. That's just a fraction of everything that is invested. Of course, the investor side is very difficult to influence, but even if we look at the startup side, the entrepreneur side, we see an underrepresentation. In Europe, 30% of entrepreneurs in general are women, and just 15% of founders or co-founders of deep tech startups in Europe are women. Now we try to, with some of our initiatives and programs, to address this. I would like to specifically with you, Teresa, talk about Supernovas and of course Women TechEU, which is a project that you're leading. Can you tell us a little bit more about these programs? Let's start maybe with Supernovas.
Sure. Supernovas is a cross kick, as you said, as you explained before. Cross kick means that several community, knowledge and innovation communities are working together in order to address on a specific challenge. And in this case, Supernova's focus in fostering and creating a community of female investors, which is really interesting because at the end, you were talking about figures related to investment, and as you say, only 2% of the investments go into deep tech startups funded by women, and that's a super low amount of money.
Plus, even in general, not even deep tech in general, 2% of all investment.
In general, I thought it was okay. Wow, so it's even worse. So then there's something that it's interesting, that is that women invest in women. So the more women investors, the more women invested. This is also because sometimes the solutions of the women entrepreneurs tend to address women challenges, like rare diseases associated with women, or problems related to women in the pregnancy, for instance, or to conceive, or so that's very interesting. So Supernovas is trying to build this community of female investors, because also women, we tend to invest together. I mean, it's much more easy for us to invest when we are together in groups than independently. Crowdfunding investment tends to be more attractive for us than solo investment at the end. So that's the reason why of the existence of Supernovas. They are building, creating, fostering this community of female investors. They are providing some trainings for early, or let's say new investors or new potential investors. They are providing training also for more senior investors to go bigger. And then they are promoting the relationships about that among that community in order to facilitate the investment. So that's Supernovas, which is, it's a very, very interesting approach. And I think it's quite important because the mechanisms that right now exist probably are not the right ones to foster women in entrepreneurship. So maybe we need to create new ones, such communities of investors or that sort of things, and that will bring more opportunities of investment in one side, so increasing value for investors and at the same time for entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I think that it's always underestimated what an investment community can do and how much, because we see this sometimes in, say, alumni from university, that they kind of stick together, invest in startups that have these kind of co-founders that come from the same alma mater, and of course this can also go for gender, right?
Mm.
So that female investors invest in more, or let's say startups that have a better female representation. So this is one side of the community, so to say, or of the ecosystem, better said, that we're trying to change. And the other side is really the entrepreneurial skills, and the co-founders. And then we're basically at Women TechEU. Why don't you introduce us to this initiative?
So, wow, this is an amazing initiative, I have to say. It was launched first time in 2021 by the Commission, and it was a pilot, and they funded 50 startups. The second edition and second pilot happened in 2022, and they funded 134 startups.
Mm-hmm.
And the main idea is, okay, we need to foster women entrepreneurship in deep tech. So the main target is founders, co-founders of deep tech startups in the early stages.
Mm-hmm.
So because when you have a startup in deep tech that it's a little bit bigger, or it's in a later stage, it's much more easier for them to get some funding. But the earliest stages is
Yeah.
where there are not a lot of
Yeah.
possibilities. So it's for pre-seed and seed startups, and we offer them 75,000 euros equity free, which is, I think it's quite interesting. But we also offer them services.
Mm-hmm.
So after the Commission launched these two pilots, they decided to externalize this program. They launched a call. We participated in the call. There were other 13 consortiums participating, and we were the ones that received the award to rule and run this program for 2 years. During these 2 years, we expect to run 4 calls. In each call, we target to fund 40 women-led startups in deep tech. And it's not only about the funding, but it's also about the support, the additional support we offer them. In addition to the EIC Business Acceleration Services, we will provide the women with other 7 services: mentoring, coaching, pitch preparation, access to investors, access to corporates, and others. So I don't remember all of them by heart because I started like a couple of weeks ago. But I mean, the main idea is that we're gonna offer them the money, we're gonna offer them the services, and during 6 months we are gonna support them in their growth. Which I think it's important because at that stage, you do not only need money to grow, but you need some guidance, Someone that helps you and points you something about your business model can be a game changer. Someone that opens the door to a specific investor, it can be a game changer. Someone that introduces you into a corporate can completely change the story of a startup, and that's what we are trying. So we are looking, or we will be looking for the best women in the space of deep tech startup, early stage, of course. Yep, more or less this is the summary of the project. And also we are thinking in ways to find ways. So I mean, we are going to have a lot of applications, we expect, because these in the previous edition they received nearly 476 applications, and only 134 were funded. But I can imagine that among those 300 something that didn't get the award, there were a lot of good entrepreneurs as well. So we are also trying to look in ways of supporting these women too.
Yeah. So you're talking about investment. What kind of investment is this?
What do you mean about what kind of investment?
Yeah, so up to how much do we invest? What kind of is this equity free?
It's
what can
equity
they
free. It's equity free, and it's 75,000 euros.
Okay, so this is a fixed number, 75,000 euros equity free. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's like giving a power shot to the organization. I've been looking at the previous selected organizations. There are super interesting startups in there. And I can tell that some of them, the ones that I've checked, there are a few, after this program, they were successful. Some of them, they had investment rounds. Some of them applied to the EIC accelerator and they were successful. Among 1,000 applications, they select 84 organizations, and one of them was one of these women selected. At least one of them, because I haven't reviewed all the applications. So yeah, it's like a way of supporting them and to give them a push to fly.
To really kickstart the journey. Just in terms of administration for some of our listeners who may perhaps be interested or eligible. So we're talking about seeds, pre-seeds. Do these companies need to be a registered entity, or is this pre-founding?
They need to be a registered entity.
Okay.
And at the beginning of the project, they need to have a PIC number. Do you know what a PIC number is?
Please explain.
No, I have discovered it lately, but it's like kind of number you need to request. It's a very simple process to get it, but there's a lot of people that get stuck into that part of the application, because it sounds a little bit weird or strange, or they haven't heard about it, but it's a very easy number. You only need to fill some forms and some documentation in a page, let's say, in a web page, and then they review all those documents and they give you a specific number that is going to be your number for the rest of your life as organization, and then you have it. But I talk about this because this tends to be like a blocker in the way to participate in this kind of project. It can sound a little bit weird, but it's like that.
That is good to know for everyone who's listening. Can try and now already request this number to be prepared whenever they want to apply. So we're talking about deep tech, right? So what kind of innovations are you looking for within Women TechEU?
Well, it's a broad range of things that we're talking about. I think we have listed 15 different bullets of different ways to express technology, but what we are looking for in one word is new technologies. So technologies at the right end. We can talk about cybersecurity, for instance. We can talk about biotechnology, artificial intelligence, of course. I'm expecting to receive a lot of applications in that area. But I mean, it's important because we have a hype right now, but we can talk also about, I don't know, 6G, green tech, clean tech, and anything that the space technology is also that it's in a hype right now.
Wide range of technological innovations that can be considered.
Well, we don't have defined a range, specific range. I mean, it's we have prepared this list, which is, I think, something defined by the Commission. What's the meaning of deep tech, and how it is described. But as long as it seems something that it's novel, this is interesting for us. But it's not only novelty what we are going to measure. It's impact, one of the most relevant things that we are going to measure when we evaluate the applications. Because at the end, what we are looking... I mean, there's sometimes that people think that innovation is a new idea. But for me, after several years being in innovating and working in innovation, the real innovation is the idea that has a lot of impact and changes things. If you have a super great idea but you do not implement it, or you do not reach a big audience, then it's nothing at the end. But so the potential impact and the capability of the entrepreneurs to really make that impact happen is going to be quite important at the end of selecting.
Novelty and impact, yeah. No, this is what we need, especially in the deep tech realm, to solve all of the challenges. I don't want to say problems, but challenges that we have right now, not only in industry but also in society as a whole.
It's true, and it's important because we are going to have a special focus in the digital, green, and social transition. So purpose-driven deep tech at the end.
Perfect. So if we summarize, for Women TechEU, female founders, legal entity necessary, can apply, if successful, 75,000 euros, equity free, and this 6-month program of support in numerous ways: pitch training, access to markets, access to finance, investors, etc. Looking for purpose-driven deep tech innovations with impact.
Wow, what a great summary.
Perfect.
I'm going to copy you.
No, perfect. So this is who we're looking for with the Women TechEU initiative. Teresa, where can these impact-driven entrepreneurs apply?
Well, we have our social networks, LinkedIn, X, now it's not Twitter not anymore, so X, Facebook, Instagram, and we have a website that if you can put at the end later on here, it will be very good. So now you can register your interest in the website. If you register your interest, your application will be preloaded So you will be able to access an application when we open the call, and it will be already open. And there is something that I forgot to say, which is that we are launching on the 18th of March. You have the premiere.
Fantastic.
So it's gonna be the opening. It's gonna be at the EIC Summit in Brussels. We will be there that day promoting the call, but I mean we are starting to talk about this around, and yeah, I hope all the people that it's listening to us today can it's interested in apply and will apply to the call.
Absolutely. Calling all purpose-driven female entrepreneurs in the early stages. Register interests at womentecheurope.eu. We will put this website, of course, in the notes of this episode. If anyone has any questions, who can they reach?
You can reach me for sure. Via LinkedIn, it's quite easy, and also via website, we have some support emails, and you will be able to ask any question. We will publish some Q&A, guidelines, everything on that day. But at the moment, or reach me via LinkedIn or connect via the website and fill in the application form.
Fantastic. Great. I think that is a fantastic point where we can wrap this up. Teresa, thank you so much. Once again, calling all female entrepreneurs that have an interest in deep tech can register on the website, can reach Teresa via LinkedIn, open for any questions. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Maxime. Nice to participate in this podcast.
It was great having you. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to The Art of Making on the podcast platform of your choice. We're more than happy to hear from you, so reach out through the EIT Manufacturing website, that is eitmanufacturing.eu, or find us on the usual social media channels. Take care and talk soon.